Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I'm so excited to be here with Dr. Morgan. Hi.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. I'm excited for this conversation.
Thank you for coming. I'm so glad to catch you in New York in person. Nothing better. Um, Tell me, what is your favorite romantic gesture?
Ooh, I am a words of affirmation girl.
Mm.
And thank goodness my boyfriend knows this about me. And he will write me these long letters, like we're
Oh,
talking pages long. And I'll just be crying and reading that. Like, that's
no.
my favorite thing,
I love that.
the
But how did he
words.
know, or did you have to tell him, or was it something that he just did from the get-go?
So he's kind of a writer, so he had done it, and then I think I reinforced it. So I
Mm.
said, "I love when you write me these letters," and now I get them all the time. It's
No,
amazing.
that's really amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, like give me a snippet of like what one of like a sentence from them.
He'll say, "I love having you as my life partner. You're my best friend. You're my lover.
Oh,
There's no one I'd rather grow with."
that's so sweet. I
Yeah,
love that. It sounds like he's like really in touch with his emotions
he
too,
is.
which we can always appreciate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's so emotionally intelligent. I'll always joke that he's even more that way than I am. He's
Yeah.
very in tune with his emotions.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So backing up a little bit for anyone who doesn't know you or isn't familiar, how old are you and where are you from?
So I am 34 and I am from Bozeman, Montana. I just recently moved there. And I'm on 5 acres, have a modern country farmhouse, just living my country dream. Um, yeah.
I
But
love
I
that.
spent a lot of time in LA and San
Yeah.
Diego, and then when the pandemic hit, everything went to shit,
Yeah.
and I was like, "I have to get out of here," and I
Yeah. It's time for the farm.
I moved to be near my family, and I'm loving it.
That's so nice. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what the ESL relationship method is.
Okay, so I guess kind of how I got to this place
Mhm.
and where it all came from, like many people who get into the field of clinical psychology, I experienced childhood trauma. I lost my mom at age 6, and then I kind of witnessed my dad go through some really difficult relationships, and I myself started having a lot of difficulty in relationships. Even I could remember even as a teenager dating really unhealthy people and just experiencing heartbreak after heartbreak. And then in my second year of graduate school, I'm becoming a clinical psychologist, second year of grad school, I ended up dating a narcissist
Mm.
for about a year. And I essentially hit rock bottom after that relationship of I cannot keep doing this. It was so painful.
Yeah.
As anybody knows who's dated a narcissist, right? I mean, they can have a huge impact on your self-worth. I was totally isolated from friends and family. I didn't know who I was anymore. And it was at that point that I threw myself into researching relationships, attachment theory, and I decided I need to figure out how to have a healthy relationship because I can't keep doing this. And then that's what I did. Took me a while to really do my own healing work, get in. I feel like therapists and everybody in the health professions were terrible at doing our own work. We'd
Yeah.
so much rather help other people.
Mhm.
But I did my own work. And then out of that came the Empowered Secure Love program, which helps women become securely attached and have great relationships.
Yeah, and I want to hear so much more about that, but you did touch on something that I want to go a little bit deeper into, which is that you dated a narcissist. And I have no doubt that you dated a narcissist and you're aware of what a narcissist is
Mhm.
as a professional. However, I do feel like now more than ever, it's like a buzzword almost to be like, oh, I'm labeling you as a narcissist. So, how
Mhm.
can you tell the difference between someone that you just think is selfish and you think didn't treat you
Yeah.
right versus an actual textbook narcissist that you are sure that
Mhm.
you dated?
I love that you bring this up because it's true. It gets thrown around a lot. And I actually think a lot of people are confusing a narcissist with someone who has avoidant attachment style, which
Mm,
you and I will get into.
yeah.
Um, to identify a narcissist, they're doing things out of control and manipulation, and they're lacking empathy. So it's not that they're afraid of intimacy or they're afraid of commitment. They actually do want to control you and, cause harm in your life. And they don't have a lot of empathy towards that. So I think that's a really important distinction.
Yeah. How can you tell if somebody doesn't have empathy?
So I think that you can tell because they are saying things that are so hurtful. They will know what your weaknesses are and speak directly to those things.
Mm,
They're very sophisticated and strategic in how they communicate with you. Um, and they do intentionally want to hurt you. Someone who's lacking emotional capacity, maybe they have avoidant attachment style. It's not out of intentionally wanting to hurt you. It's actually they don't have the skills or the tools or the emotional
right.
capacity. Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
helpful, that
No, it
distinction?
is. It is. But I guess my question to you is because there was someone that I dated in my past that I'm still on the fence if they were a narcissist or not. And I
Mhm.
guess my question to you is like, how are you left feeling after dating a narcissist? You mentioned
Mm.
it a little bit in your journey, but what is like the typical
Yeah.
reaction afterwards?
Yeah, and I guess this will be helpful to mention too. There's the cycle of a narcissistic relationship. So you are put on a pedestal in the beginning. That's the love bombing stage. You're, God's gift to women, and they put you on a pedestal, fly you around, buy you gifts, all the things that I experienced. Um, and then we get into the devaluing stage, which is the emotional abuse, where the
Mm,
put downs probably are small in the beginning, but then they get worse and worse and worse. And then we get to the discard phase. So with a narcissist, they have completely torn you down, you have low self-worth, and then they want nothing to do with you all of a sudden and you're cut out of their life.
yeah.
That's pretty typical cycle. And then they'll come back and they'll love bomb you again. So I think knowing that cycle is helpful. And then you do just feel completely emotionally drained. This is someone who made you feel crazy. They made you believe lies about yourself. They were good at reinforcing lies about you and your self-worth. So you probably feel like you don't recognize yourself, you're a different person. You're probably isolated from friends and family in some way. And you're very emotionally depleted often.
Mm. What can help you get back to a mindset where you are okay to receive a healthy love?
So this is what I love helping people do is getting to that place. You need a foundation. And I know it sounds simple, but really first getting help, whether it is with a therapist or a coach, you really need an outside voice because you were led to believe so many lies about yourself and your self-worth. So you need that outside voice of reason, and just reconnecting with friends and family, getting as connected as you can because a narcissist wants you to be disconnected in order to control you.
Mm,
So you need to rebuild your connections as quick as you can,
right.
reach out to people. I mean, I had a best friend at the time who had to cut ties with me because she couldn't watch it happen. And it took a lot for me to go to her and say, "You were absolutely right," but I had to do that for my own mental health and
Right.
healing, right? So,
Yeah.
make amends. Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on a little bit from narcissists, what do you think is the reason that most women, especially, struggle to find healthy relationships?
Ooh, I have so many reasons. The first one that comes to mind is beliefs about yourself and beliefs about relationships, because there's so much unhealthy, hurtful beliefs that we internalize as women about ourselves and about relationships.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, but how do we work on that? I mean, just is it just through therapy? Like, is it just through becoming a little bit more confident, loving ourselves a little bit more?
So this is exactly why I designed the program, is because a lot of times I love therapy, but a lot of times it's not as targeted and deep to go right into belief work.
Mm-hmm.
I love NLP and just
What's
really act
NLP?
neuro linguistic reprogramming.
Okay.
Yeah. But really just awareness is the first step. You have to be
Right.
aware of what your belief system is in order to
Mm-hmm.
change it.
Yeah.
And then there is a lot of inner child work and behavioral work and identity work. How do you become the healthy version of yourself that attracts great relationships? And then obviously, I love to teach people about attachment theory and applying attachment theory to your dating life so that you get the results that you want.
Yeah.
There's so many factors, um, but those are some of the key things.
What is inner child work? I keep hearing about it, and like I can guess that it's like, healing things from
Yeah.
your childhood that you have left unhealed. Is that really all it is?
So, inner child work is all about healing the wounds that you had as a child and teaching yourself that you can now show up as your ideal parent. So you can show up and have a corrective emotional experience in times of distress. So I guess just to give you an example, it's like, let's say you're dating and the guy ghosts you, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm not worth anything. Nobody wants to love me. This is never going to work out. You go down a horrible spiral. In that moment, you want to show up for yourself with so much love and compassion and support
Hmm.
as your ideal parent would have if you would have been in that situation.
Oh wow, my mind is blown right now.
It's corrective.
Mm-hmm. So you just become the parent that you needed.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And that I imagine in turn helps us speak to ourselves better because we are not nice to ourselves in general.
Yes, exactly. So much better.
Yeah. I love that. Something I saw on your Instagram that I loved and could not have agreed with more was about choosing someone versus needing them and how it's so much more important and more valuable to be choosing a partner than needing them. How can you tell
Mhm.
if you're choosing versus needing?
So, a couple key things I would have you ask yourself, are you more of who you really are when you're around them? If you're choosing, you're going to be your authentic self in their presence because you're not afraid of abandonment. Another thing I'd have you think about, can you set boundaries with this person? Can you communicate your needs? You have to realize that you are deciding to bring someone into your life not to fill a void, but to just add value to your life, right?
Mm,
So if we're intentionally choosing, we're saying, I don't need you to fill this void. I don't need you to know that I'm good enough and that I'm worthy of love. I know that I'm worthy of love, and our relationship just gets to be a multiplier of the love that I already have.
yeah. I think that's so important about like how you act and if you're
Mhm.
yourself when you're with them. I think that with the right person, you are not only yourself, but like the best version of yourself. And
Yes.
I think that there were so many times where I personally was in relationships where it brought out a bad side of me. And some people even told me, like, they were like, that's a bad sign about you. Like, you should do that. And I remember thinking, like, no, it's a bad sign about the relationship.
Mhm.
And I truly think that I was right in this scenario because then when I got into the relationship I'm in now with my husband, it was like this nurturing, amazing like side of myself came out and I was like, this is how it should be. And the side of me in the past relationship who, I didn't like, it
Mhm.
wasn't a reflection on me, or maybe it was, and I'm still always working through things in therapy, but it was more of a reflection on my interactions with that person and what negative
Mhm.
stuff was coming up because it wasn't a right fit.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, obviously, there's our own work and why we're attracted to those kinds of partners, right? We take ownership in that. But yeah, if the relationship is not bringing out a side of you that you like, then that definitely is a sign that it's the wrong relationship for
Yeah.
you. And I always talk about the secure base. We build secure attachment And with secure attachment, you have complete freedom to grow and change and be your best self. But when you don't have that secure attachment with a partner, it's going to bring out all the worst sides of you, and it's going to be stressful. It's going to impact your career, your friendships, everything, because you're constantly not secure in the relationship itself.
Yeah, I agree. And I know I have talked about attachment styles on different episodes with other attachment coaches and things like that.
Mhm.
So I don't want to like be redundant and talk about it too much, but I will say, um, I really feel like your partner has a lot to do with your attachment style.
Mhm.
And in relationships where I didn't have secure attachment, where like my partner almost like gave me anxious attachment when I never had had it in
Yeah.
the past, it was like all encompassing and I
Mhm.
couldn't do anything else. And I was recently talking to somebody who's married with kids, and she was saying that she still to this day feels uncomfortable when her husband goes on a bachelor party.
Oh, no.
And I was like, "Oh my god." Like, when my husband goes to a bachelor party, it is the best weekend of my life. I am watching
Yes.
my shows. I am doing face masks.
Yeah.
I am being disgusting around the apartment, doing whatever I want, like pooping
Uh-huh.
with the door open. I'm living my best life, hanging with my girlfriends. I don't think for a second about what he's up to.
Yep.
And I feel like that's such a very big red flag if you're still worried about that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. With secure attachment, you have freedom, and that's why those relationships feel so good and they last so long because you get to grow and change while still being in the relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, I have, of course, had many anxious attachment
Yeah.
relationships where I was that woman who was scared about, the one weekend I was away and he was elsewhere, or, like,
Yes.
checking who he's following on Instagram, like, these behaviors that are not normal, but you
Yeah.
can't help but do because you're not getting what you need, you're not getting that
Yes.
feeling of security.
This is so good you're talking about this because it doesn't get talked about enough that you have to intentionally co-create a secure attachment with your partner. And some people don't have the capacity to co-create that.
Mm.
So you could be securely attached or even if you're anxiously attached, but if you're paired with someone who doesn't have capacity to create a secure attachment, then yes, it's going to bring up the anxious attachment and then the securely attached person who has high self-worth and has abundance mindset realizes this is not how I want to feel in relationships. I deserve better. And they break up and they move on and they
Yeah.
find someone like your husband, right?
Right, right, totally. I want to talk about toxic independence because it has been something that has come up a lot recently. And I know we have a lot of listeners who are in their 30s and single,
Mhm.
and they love their lives and they are successful and they have their
Yeah.
setup in their apartment and they have a dog and they have, everything that they, you know, really
Yeah.
love, but they would like a partner. However, anytime somebody comes close, they like almost retreat to their independence again. How do you combat that? If you're somebody that really wants a partner, but you're really independent, like how do you know when you're being too independent?
I love this so much. And there's actually research that shows that more and more women are showing up this way.
Mm,
I think that for forever it's been, oh, that's how men are. They're prioritizing their career. They don't have time for, their commitment phobes. But we do have a larger number of women that also have toxic independence. So I think it's a really important topic. I think we have to realize that there's core fears here that must be dealt with. Some of the fears are that I'm just not good at relationships and I'm going to fail. So I'd rather put my energy into my career because I know I work harder and then I get better results. Whereas with relationships, I'm not as confident how it's going to go. So I just don't want to put my energy in.
mhm.
At least that's kind of the unconscious thing. And then
Right.
the conscious justification that so many people have is, oh, it's just I have to focus on my life and my career and My life is so great. I don't have room for anything else. But below that is the fear of failure and that I'm actually not good at relationships.
Mm. How do you deal with that? Like, how do you, first of all, how do you, if a friend of yours is like this, can you say anything? And
Mhm.
second of all, like, if I'm a guy who's dating a woman who has toxic independence, like, how do I break her cycle?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to realize that you can work through this. So anybody listening is like, "That's me." You can work through it. What happens for a lot of people is they go through something really challenging and then they realize, "Ooh, I need partnership in my life."
Mm,
So, what was kind of interesting with COVID is we saw that more and more people were open to marriage and long term relationships
right.
because of how challenging that time was.
Yeah.
So, for some people, it'll happen naturally. But then I think for other people, it's about getting really honest. Stop numbing, stop distracting yourself. What do you actually want in your life? Is is a relationship important? Is family important? And you have to acknowledge the reality that it's not just going to happen, that you have to intentionally make the space for it. And then I would add a couple things. You have to get good at setting boundaries.
Mm,
People with toxic independence, they're not afraid to set boundaries because they're afraid their partner's going to leave. They're afraid to set boundaries because they don't wanna deal with the emotional impact it has on other people, and they have stories that people are gonna want way too much of their time, and they're gonna disappoint others, so then they just don't set boundaries. So the
mm,
growing edge is realizing, "Hey, I can have my independence and I can have a relationship." It's this beautiful term called interdependence. That's what you want to get good at, to realize I can care for myself, do what I want for me, and I can have this beautiful relationship at the same time. I don't have to choose.
but what if you're someone who is that exact person, right? But then every time they are like, okay, fine, I'll let someone in,
Mhm.
that person ends up hurting them. How can you convince someone like that that's not going to happen over and over and over again if it's happened like 3 or 4 times?
That's where people like me come in, because a lot of times what's happening there is you are attracted to those people.
Mm,
There's this term from Freud, a concept I love. There's very few things I love from Freud. This is one of the only ones, and it's repetition compulsion.
mm,
So you're likely replaying, you're repeating your unfinished childhood business in your adult romantic relationships. And there's this unconscious wish that this time I would have a different outcome and it'll make up for my entire childhood. But until we deal with that core trauma, you're going to keep repeating those patterns. So that's someone who really needs to deal with their current relationship blueprint, is what I would call it, and
yeah.
the kind of person they're attracted to.
Yeah, that makes sense. This was something that I read and that you had posted and I loved. It was the 5 rules for healthy relationships. And we'll go through them and I want your take. Number 1, your joy is your job.
I love that
I
one.
love it. It's so true. I mean, it just takes me back to like those codependent relationships in high school
Mhm,
that I had where
mhm,
if he wasn't, you know, around, I wasn't happy.
mhm,
And that was so dangerous. So dangerous. And I remember I actually, had this boyfriend all of high school and then we went to college and we broke up and I was inconsolable
mhm.
because my happiness was being with him. Now, in the healthy relationship and the healthy marriage that I'm in, I can be happy regardless of him. Obviously, when he's around, I'm thrilled and I love being with him. But my happiness is not because he's shown me attention. So I love that. Do you have a little like one sentence or about why your joy is your job?
I think it's often easy for us to want other people to take care of our joy, but nobody else can do it because only you know what your joy is.
Right.
So it's unfair to place it on other people. You have to take ownership.
Yeah, agreed. The second was communicate frequently, openly, and honestly. I feel like this is self-explanatory. Like, just do it.
This one's so hard for people with fear of abandonment. So I think it's that realization that you have to address the core fears and then the communication will change. I could teach you everything about assertive communication, give you sentence structures. You're not going to do it if you have a huge fear of abandonment.
Yeah. This one is actually my favorite. I take it back. Number 3, your time apart is valuable and helps create desire. I have so many friends in relationships who are never apart, and
Yeah.
it is not okay. Like,
Yeah.
every time, and like, it doesn't have to be intentional apartness. Like, maybe it's just a business trip or whatever it is, even though I do like intentional being apart. But I think that, like, how can they miss you? How can their affection grow for you if you're never gone? If you're always around?
Beautiful. Yeah. Esther Perel has this quote: desire needs a bridge to cross.
Mm,
So many people are just together all the time and that bridge is gone, and I'm just like you. I love my time away from my partner. I love when he goes on trips because I know when we get back together, we really missed each other, and it helps our relationship that much more. We have more gratitude for one
right,
another. We
right.
appreciate each other. It's a beautiful thing.
Right, like, even during the day, and, there are some people who both work from home, and I feel for them because that's really
Mhm.
hard in a
Mhm.
relationship. But even during the day when my husband's at work, I start to think of him more fondly,
Yo,
Like,
yes.
even during the so it's like, if one of you has to go work at another friend's apartment for the day, do what you gotta do to be away from them
Oh,
for a little
yeah.
bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is kind of the opposite, which is spend intentional time together without your phones. This is very much like quality time, which is a love language. I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm not the best at this, unless, like, we are out to dinner, the 2 of us.
Mhm.
But it can be really hard when you're in your apartment together because your phones are always there, the TV's always right next to you. It's
Mhm.
hard.
It is hard, especially in today's world of all the different social media things, etcetera. It's very challenging, has to be intentional. I have a rule with my partner: no phones in the bed, because you spend that time in bed, just both of you on your phone.
Right.
And that's our time to intentionally connect and be present. So I think if you can do that, where it doesn't have to be all the time, but create routines where no phones are there and you're just intentionally with each other, it's very helpful.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
And number 5, another one I totally love, which is never stop being curious about each other. And this almost, like, made me choke up because I was thinking, like, the other day, um, I asked my husband how his day was, but, like, I didn't really care that much. Like, of
Mm.
course I cared, but, like, I was just asking to ask almost because, like, that was the
Mhm.
right thing to do, but I was very wrapped up in something I was doing at the time. And
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh my god, that's, like, the worst thing I could be doing in my relationship is, like, not genuinely being curious about what went
Mhm.
on that day for him." And again, it's not like I didn't care, but I was just asking when I was doing something else.
Mhm.
And, like, that is getting in the way of my actual curiosity about it because I wasn't open to hearing the
Mhm.
answer.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that, and I think it's beautiful you recognize that. That's the thing, is the awareness piece. And we have to be open to getting to know our partner at any stage of life. There's a quote about, if you're lucky, you'll have 7 partners in one lifetime, and if you're really lucky, it'll be the same person.
Yeah.
Right? So it's that curiosity of, how are they evolving? What went on in their day? What are they thinking and feeling and needing? And what are they excited about? What's not working for them in their life? And sometimes with the people who are closest to us, we just assume we know them, but everyone's growing. So that curiosity is needed.
Yeah. Speaking of growing, you mentioned watering plastic plants. What is this phrase and what is it applied to?
So I love this metaphor. You need to stop watering plastic plant relationships. A plastic plant relationship is a relationship you give your energy to and it just can't grow. A plastic plant is a plastic plant. If you sing to it, dance, put it in a certain sunlight, nothing is going to make it grow. And I think we have, especially as women, we have so many times where we think if we just show up right or we just do a certain thing or maybe we get them to go to therapy, then they'll be the partner we want. But you deserve to give your energy to a real life plant, to a relationship that can grow with you.
Yes.
So,
Don't fall for potential.
no,
Because a plastic plant will never be a real plant.
this is true.
I love it. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire poll questions.
Okay, awesome.
These are just like silly and from our Instagram.
Love it.
Okay. Do you expect a current boyfriend to go back through their old photos and delete nude or like sexy pictures of their ex? Yes or no?
I'm going to say yes, and it depends on the relationship.
I don't know. For me, I'm like, no. Like, it's like if they're looking at it still, that's not okay. But like, I don't expect
Yeah.
them to do a clean out. If they want to, that's great. But I'm not being
Right.
like, okay, now delete that. Now delete that, you know?
For sure. Yeah, and I think it just depends on each person's comfort level.
Yeah.
And when you want to co-create secure attachment, if that's a big need for someone and you
Right.
love them and they need that,
Right. If it's no sweat off your back,
yeah,
then
then
why
do it. But I don't think it's required.
not? Mm-hmm.
No.
Have you gone to see a movie alone? Yes or no?
Yes, I have.
I love it. It's the most fun
Oh
activity.
yeah, I'm so into it.
Is it weird to wear shorts to the airport? Yes or no?
Ooh, I never would, but I wouldn't judge someone who did. I'm a leggings when I travel kind of girl.
Yeah, feel
But
that.
you do you.
New guy you're dating drunkenly calls you one of his best girlfriend's names. Is that a red flag or no?
That is a yellow flag, which is I'm thinking about when that's happened to me. That's a yellow flag because you don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they are not over their ex, or
Right.
maybe they're just really drunk. So you gotta gather some more data.
Yeah. Well, no, not an ex-girlfriend. Their best girlfriend. Like their best friend who's a girl.
Oh shoot. Definitely also a yellow flag.
Yeah, because you don't know the relationship with this girl.
Yeah. Gather the data there.
You have been dating someone for a month. You already had sex and things are going amazing and the feelings are mutual. You tell each other how much you like each other and see a future together. Is it too soon for the guy to ask you to be his girlfriend? Yes or no? It's only been a month.
I am gonna say no. And my reason why is if that's what you both want, right? It has to be something you both want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you judge people who eat sushi or drink when they're pregnant? Yes or no?
I am gonna say yes, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard not to, but like you never know the situation.
You never know.
Okay, this one's a little risque. Do you
Okay.
ever have sex dreams involving people or kinks that you would never be attracted to or enjoy in real life? Yes or no?
Yes. And as a psychologist, I analyze the hell out of it and think
Yeah.
why that happens.
Yeah. Would you be upset if your friend's ex unfollowed you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Is it a good thing or a bad thing to you if someone you're about to start dating has a pet?
Oh, it's amazing. I love all animals.
Who do you feel is more ride or die? Your high school friends or your college friends?
Definitely college.
Does your male partner watch reality TV with you? Yes or no?
He does.
I love
We just
it.
watched Southern Charm, the trashiest
Oh
of
my God,
all the trashing.
amazing.
He got into it.
I need to go back and like start that from the beginning. I'm a summer house girl.
Yes.
Love it. This was so amazing, Dr. Morgan. Can you leave us with a quote or piece of advice?
I would say, I want you to know that it's never too late, that even if you feel like it's not available to you, a healthy, great relationship is so available to you, and you're so deserving of it.
I love that. Where can everybody find you, follow you, and sign up for your program?
So you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Morgan Coaching. And then I also have a podcast called Let's Get Vulnerable. Those are the best places. And then there's info about the program there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Thank you. That was so
Lindsay,
great.
thanks.